Not all boss fights are created equal. Some are magnificent, furious contests of strength against a seemingly impossible foe, and then some are Mysterio from Spider-Man 2. Really? We're ragging on Mysterio again? Okay. Roll clip.
Whoa! That was sick, dude!
But then there's the third kind of boss fight, the one that lives in your memory not because it was too hard or too easy, but whose defining quality is that it was just totally, unrelentingly annoying. An irritating, frustrating boss fight that left you feeling as empty and broken as the helmet of stupid Spider-Man villain Mysterio. Okay, seriously, did Mysterio wrong us in some way? It doesn't matter. Look, we've all had boss fights we've hated, and the Outside Xbox and Outside Xtra teams are no different. Here are our picks of bosses so annoying we will curse them with our dying breath. Beware spoilers for the following games.
Damn it! How do we stop these things?
Well, the big one is way over there. However, these guys are right here.
Final Fantasy VII Remake appeared, and as someone who had never played the original game, I thought, let's jump in on this. I'm a big Kingdom Hearts fan as well. I know Nomura had done a little bit of did a little bit of work on this one. Yeah, I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. A lot of the reviews were like, it's amazing, they've done really well. For most of the game, I really enjoyed the kind of fast-paced nature of the combat compared to previous Final Fantasies that I'd dabbled in. I'm not huge on turn-based battle systems, and for most of it, I kind of liked it, but I quickly realised that I didn't like it when I got to the final boss.
That's not that quickly, that's 30 hours.
Well, no, I kind of early doors thought, this is a little bit relentless. The combat doesn't give you any breathing room, really. You're organising your team. You're mainly playing as Cloud, but you can also switch between the other characters on your team. There's a lot of...
They suck.
Well, I'm sorry, Tifa with the fists, when she really goes at it, it's great.
You're not as good as Cloud.
Yeah.
None of them are as good as Cloud.
Okay, all right.
I don't mean in terms of I love Cloud so much.
But he's got a big sword,
the fights go quicker if you are Cloud.
Yeah. So. Well, I try to change it up, and it's also useful for gameplay if we need it for lists and such, so it's not just Cloud. It really culminated for me realising how much I kind of didn't gel with the combat. Sorry everyone who liked it. It was when I got to the final boss, so I was in chapter 18, and then you've got this Whisper Harbinger, or Harbinger, I don't know exactly how you're supposed to say it, because Nomura wanted to change the story. Big spoilers for the end of the game. Aerith doesn't die, and so this creature comes in to try and fix the timeline, okay? This is where the Kingdom Hearts bullshit comes in, everyone.
Buckle up. When you said at the beginning, Nomura had a little bit of influence on this.
Nomura was like, yes, get in there. The final boss is Sephiroth, or as Sephiroth is
Sephiroth's all over the town.
But I never got to Sephiroth because I was fighting this Whisper Harbinger of whatever, and the problem with this battle is it's a multi-stage thing. So you're not really kind of fighting the monster directly for the majority of this fight. You're fighting little tiny versions of itself that it sends at you. There's a cold one and a hot one and another one. I can't remember it. But all I remember is really annoying. You're on a highway, but it's been ripped up and it's breaking apart. It's very Kingdom Hearts. You're thrown into separate battles again and again. There's no way that you can just I need to top up, get some mana or whatever back. I need to just breathe. Nope, nothing. You've got Barrett and the saber cat that I can never remember the name
Red
of.
13?
Yeah, Red 30, who's got the deep voice like that.
He's called Red Wolf.
Red Wolf.
Yeah.
Right, okay, cool.
It's called Fur Patch.
Yeah, Fur Patch. But you go through this whole fight with high-level creatures that are just really difficult to juggle between. And so you go through all that. Most of the time it's just, I need to build up some things so I can cure my friends and heal them, and oh my god. I was then thrown as Cloud into a different battle, this time with Tifa and Aerith, and I was just, there's no room to breathe, there's no room to breathe.
Least they could do is give us a little breather.
And then when I finally got knocked down, and then it was like, hey, do you want to start from the checkpoint, or do you want to start the battle again? And I accidentally clicked start the battle again, and it threw me right out to the start. At which point I was like, I just, again, need to step away from this game, just calm down. I was blaming myself. I was like, oh, Helen, why did you do this? And then I looked it up, right? It'd taken me like 27 minutes to get to this point before dying. And then I looked up like, well, where's the checkpoint? How did I shoot myself in the foot? Not at all. You have to go right back to the beginning to this multi-stage boss fight all over again. And
I was going to say, I chose return to checkpoint when I died, and I had to do the whole 45 minutes.
There's no point. There is apparently a checkpoint after this before Sephiroth. So you get a checkpoint before Sephiroth. But who cares by that point? I didn't know who I was going to be with next. So I'm sure, like, if I'd gone, yeah, I'll sacrifice another half an hour, 45 minutes of my life to actually beat this boss, I would have been a bit more prepared. But throwing you into a long, hard boss battle and not letting you know, like, not really knowing who you would have to look after. Like, what was the point? Like, wasted precious healing on Barrett when he would have been fine, and I needed to save that for Tifa in the next one. So yeah, I think it's mean, I don't like it, and it's tiring, and that's why I rage quit Final Fantasy Remake. Yay!
I think they heard what you said about turn-based battles, and they were like, all right then, you want to do something active?
Yeah.
Have at it.
I think it's very reasonable to expect more than 2 checkpoints in an hour.
Yes! It's quality of life things. It's, sitting down and being like, oh my goodness, I've got to dedicate maybe an hour to part of a boss fight. Don't make a boss difficult, arbitrarily difficult, by just making it a really long boss fight, because it just turns it from a challenge into a slog. At which point I was just like, no, I'd already at this point decided that, Final Fantasy Remake bosses for me were a little bit too grindy, and once I got to the end of a boss fight, I wasn't like, yay, I beat it. I was more like, finally, this was just the epitome of that, but I didn't go, finally. I went, bye. Yeah, exactly.
Counterpoint, isn't everyone so beautiful and handsome?
I mean, yes. I just, I was playing that boss fight and I was like, why can I just want to be back in the town and getting Cloud in a dress and doing a little dance again. That was my favourite bit. I know it's a contentious one amongst fans, but I love it. Absolutely love that bit.
So you never saw Sephiroth?
I never saw Sephiroth. I saw him in cutscenes, never got to fight Sephiroth.
I see. You have come to meet your fate.
It might not sound particularly plausible, but one of my favourite games on the original PlayStation was Tenchu Stealth Assassins. Hang on. Not my usual poison, I would say, but it was a really good game. You remember when Sekiro was announced? Everyone was like, is it a new Tenchu game? And it wasn't, but it's a very similar sort of vibe. You're running around being a sort of stealthy type with a grappling hook and a big sword and stabbing people up who deserve it. Mostly people who deserve it, I assume. You're supposed to be a good ninja, but it was great. It was a sort of, each level was an open sandbox and you'd sort of grapple around onto the rooftops and run around, do your little ninja run. You'd be sort of stabbing up baddies and things like that. That's all fine, and I actually could get on board with the stealth because it was pretty easy stealth. As long as you didn't get spotted, you could kind of insta-kill pretty much everything.
You're describing every stealth.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. That's not the problem. The problem was that at certain points in the game, at the end of each level, usually, you'd have to fight a boss, right? And the boss would always know where you are. It's that classic stealth game thing, right? Where you're like, you spend all your time sneaking around, you put all your points into stealth or whatever, and then you have to fight a boss who knows where you are at all times, which is infuriating in any game.
Deus Ex
Yeah, Deus Ex, Skyrim all the time, all the bloody time in Skyrim, all the time. And also in this game. But what I came up with was what I thought was a foolproof solution to this, which was just to use the grenades that were in the game to kill pretty much every single boss.
The old ninja weapon.
Yeah, the grenade. Super effective in this game, actually. Like, really, very, very good.
It's not Tenchu grenade or
something. Are you sure? On my copy, with my marker pen, it certainly was. I mean, this was a fine and effective technique that carried me through most of the game, but there is a character you run into a few times called Onekage, which stands for like Demon's Shadow or something. He's like a demonic, evil ninja. And they've got a couple of problems with Onekage. 3 problems, actually, probably. The first one is that he is one of those bosses who you meet early on and you beat, but then they come back later on and they go, well, I wasn't trying.
You can't beat me when I try.
I wasn't trying last time, so now I'm gonna try, and now I'm
remove my limit.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm gonna kick your ass. The second problem I have is that he literally kicks your ass. So I'm there with my sword, presumably quite an effective weapon in feudal Japan. Yeah, barely. I'm given to believe these things are quite useful. Onekage doesn't have a sword at all. He just sort of kicks you. He does roundhouse kicks. He does sort of sliding scissor kicks. It's the disdain I have a problem with. It's the disdain for me as a noble, honourable ninja, ignore the grenades, and the fact that he doesn't even think it's worth, pulling out a sword. He just boots me around the place.
Disrespecting you right to your face.
Exactly, right, yeah, across the face with a roundhouse kick, and occasionally like in the chest. So I beat him the first time, fine. Second time, he comes back much harder, and I remember playing this and having 3 grenades in my inventory, and I hit him with all 3 grenades, and it wasn't enough.
What now?
Yeah. What am I supposed to do now? Engage with the combat mechanics? I don't think so.
Must be a bug.
Yeah. And so, I never beat this guy. Never beat him. He was much harder. He was disdainful. He absorbed grenades like they weren't even there.
The only thing to do was engage with the combat mechanics.
Yeah, and I refused. I think there was a block button, but I can't remember what it was. Can't remember if I ever pressed it. So yeah, I kind of fell out of love with the game at that point. But I told myself he was the final boss, right? Except he wasn't, because again, I wasn't really concentrating on the story, and actually it was Lord Mayho or something like that was the actual boss, and you had to go to hell afterwards. So never saw that bit of the game. I've only found out about it later in life. But yeah, there you go. I mean, like Onekage, he's a horrible, like, greasy-looking dude as well. He's got like horrible, lank, long hair. He looks like a demonic ninja might look, basically. My 3 problems with him are disdain, showing up twice, and kicking me in the face multiple times, and grenade absorption as well. Grenade absorption was a big problem for me. And he's back in the sequel as well, because they made it a prequel. So he, even though
because someone didn't kill him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, I would happily have them bring back Tenchu, just not him, please.
Or give you 4 grenades.
Yeah. Or just give me 4 grenades. What is there, a grenade shortage in feudal Japan?
Yes, I imagine so. I've argued on many occasions, sometimes successfully at panels, okay, that Breath of the Wild is the best game ever made. And yet I'm pretty convinced that when Nintendo finished it and shipped the game, they basically all went on holiday and left like one dude behind to do all the DLC and like all the updates, because things get a bit shaky, things get a bit weird. It's all good stuff, but...
You want to be on my panel? It's called Why Breath of the Wild is Bad.
No, I don't want to be on that panel. I want to be on my panel.
Good, my views will be unopposed. No, actually, I like Breath of the Wild.
Subsequent DLC introduced 2 things. One is Master Mode, which is a version of the game that is much harder, and another one is some DLC called The Champion's Ballad, which is a lovely series of quests that is absolutely worth doing because when you finish it, you get a motorbike. Which is cool, and definitely supports my theory that Nintendo were like, we're buried under rewards and money. They're like, I don't know, what do you want? A motorbike. To get the motorbike, you have to defeat a boss called Maz Kosha, who is a tricky sort of dried out Yoda that you fight on top of a big pole or whatever. And it's tricky. There are a few phases to the Maz Kosha fight. One where you fight Maz Kosha. Two where you do that same thing again, but now there are a bunch of them. There are clones. You know the trope. You've seen it in games like now Fight a Million of Me. And only one of them has a health bar, and all the others just disappear when you strike them. Then Maz goes all big, and you have to use various techniques that you've learned throughout the game to overcome Maz and claim your sweet motorbike. That's fine. The problem, and where it all went wrong for me, was when you do the same fight in Master Mode. Now what Master Mode does, somewhat clumsily, I think, is make the game harder by making every enemy you meet the harder version of that enemy, so it scales every enemy up by 1, and enemies have a regenerating health bar. If they're left alone for too long, then their health kind of starts to climb back up. And this has been kind of blanket applied to the whole game in a way that unfortunately makes the Maz Kosha fight almost unplayably broken because of that second phase where you have to fight all of the clones. Now normally it's fine because you're surviving, you're fighting, you're whittling away the clones, you hit one, poof, it goes into cloud. It wasn't that one, I will stay on my guard, keep fighting, keep healing, keep changing weapons. And eventually you find the real Maz and you can do a bit of damage and then the process begins anew. Unfortunately, in Master Mode, the amount of time it takes to find the real Maz is about the amount of time it takes for Maz's health bar to regenerate all the way back up to the 3/4 of the way that it is that it's kind of locked at once you're into this phase. So basically, you can do this boss fight forever, and it just won't stop. The only thing that will change as you keep fighting this phase over and over and over is that very, very gradually all your weapons will break and you will eventually run out of healing items. So in a very, very long and protracted and exceptionally annoying way, you will slowly, by degrees, lose the boss fight and have to try again. I made the mistake of doing this on live stream actually, which was possibly compounded the frustration. It took me a full hour.
Oh my god, he's back. He's got more health now than he had when we went into this phase. We're close now. Come on. Yes! Oh, no. No. We can't take damage like that. We can't. It's not sustainable. We're gonna... Imladradi says there is no way a motorcycle is worth this.
Well, the chat got more and more frustrated and tried to tell me to do a thing where you put bananas on the floor. And then I did the thing where you put bananas on the floor, and guess what? The advantage was basically negligible. So... So I was having a bad time, the viewers were having a bad time.
That's the Outside Xtra guarantee.
That's the Outside Xtra guarantee. But
I was watching, you were good, and I had a lot of respect for. I knew the amount of frustration you were feeling, and it's a lot when that stuff is happening on a live stream. So I think you did very well.
I was watching and it was bad, and I had no respect.
It's very, very annoying doing this fight in Master Mode because of this fact that the health regenerates basically as fast as you can fight. The way I eventually did it was just keeping the fight going long enough that the cooldown elapsed on my big electrical area of effect power, which I ended up needing in several stages of the fight. But even that, you have to get lucky because you get 3 shots at that, and then there's a long cooldown. And if you can do that to quickly identify the correct Maz and do some damage, but if you don't do a third of that damage in the allotted time before you go back on cooldown, the health's just going to go all the way back up. So it was frustrating and irritating to do, but the real bad taste in my mouth was just that it's like the best game of all time, and it's just broken. And it's supposed to be a hard fight because it's the end of the DLC, And it's like when you combine Master Mode and when you combine this DLC, you basically just get a kind of bad Venn diagram of like slightly, not as polished game design as the main game, and like right in the middle of that is the Maz Kosher fight, which is just kind of broken. And so yeah, so that's why that annoyed me, because I got...
Was the motorbike worth it?
Was the motorbike worth it? Yes. It was rad. It doesn't actually go as fast as I think it should. If you're going to give Link a motorbike, give him one that is so fast that you ramp through the skybox and like glitch into the end credits or something.
Get through Hyrule and end up in Mario Kart.
And then, yeah, oh, yes, that's the stuff.
We have been inexorably pushed to this final confrontation, Revan. I see now that this can only be settled when one of us destroys the other. Once again, we shall face each other in single combat, and the victor will decide the fate of the galaxy.
When and if I die, many, many, many years from now.
If? What have you got planned, Douglas?
On that day, I will curse Malak, who is the bad guy from off of the box, you might recognise from Knights of the Old Republic. It's a Star Wars game, a Star Wars RPG. We're due a remaster.
Believe it's coming.
At some point, there will be a remaster, and you too will get to meet Malak, who I fought a very, very, very long time ago, when I didn't really know how to play RPGs. I mean, I modestly do know how to play RPGs now, but at the time, I just picked whatever damn force powers I thought were cool and good. And
Is that not how you're supposed to play that game?
Apparently not, Mike, because it did me fine through the game, and then there I was, at the end of the game, final boss fight. It's Malak, obviously, the bad guy off of the box, classic-looking Star Wars villain, and you battle him in a sort of classic boss fight arena, and there's a sort of gantry. There are these like Jedis that have been kind of taken captive, and they're in these pods, and the idea is that the boss can kind of heal himself by draining the life force from these captured Jedi in these pods while you're trying to kill him. So immediately it's a boss who can heal himself, which is a bad sign already for annoying boss battles.
You cannot beat me, Revan.
Me not having optimized my character, not having chosen anything especially like suitable for this scenario, was not in any way prepared, and it was really, 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 really hard because I wasn't prepared for it. And also, I don't think I had the wherewithal really at that point to like look up a text-based game facts walkthrough. So I just sort of had to like die over and over and over and over again, sort of brute forcing a solution. And my solution in this scenario was like the most ignoble kind of victory, which is kiting the boss around this gantry, just kind of like running away from him. And in my memory, it took like a good half an hour to do this boss fight that's probably meant to take 4 minutes of like elite play. And so it was like run from Darth Malak, who is monstrous, just dreadful, and occasionally like toss a grenade over my shoulder while crying. And I remember him healing and thinking, if only I were dark side, then I could probably just kill those imprisoned Jedi. And I just looked up a walkthrough that was like, kill him if you like, you don't get any dark side points. So every day's a school day. I should have just killed the imprisoned Jedi and made my life a lot easier. I've also looked it up, and apparently what I also should have been doing is just like laying 50 mines before the boss start fights. Apparently you can just like lay a mine on top of 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 a mine, and then later during the boss fight, Darth Malak will just step on your collection of mines and blow up and explode and die, and then well done, you've completed the game. But I didn't know it at the time, so what it was just running, crying and afraid, like not a very good Jedi. So it really put paid to my fantasy of being a cool Star Wars hero, because that was the climactic battle of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic for me, and it was truly annoying, not very heroic or Star Warsy at all. And
I find it more annoying now that you know that there are multiple ways you could have made it easier for yourself.
I'm sort of in a twisted, not very cool way, sort of proud of having like found my own way to be a Star Wars hero, which is running and throwing grenades over my shoulder. And yeah, I don't remember using Force. I probably used some Force powers, but it would have... Force grenade. It would all have been range stuff. I think that was the disappointing bit, that I couldn't stand up to Darth Malak in an iconic lightsaber battle because my puny character was suboptimal and Darth Malak was like just an absolute brute. So yeah, that's the one. That's the one I'll remember on my deathbed if and when it comes.
Together, the Rot are quite powerful. But I have faced them once before. You may think you know these creatures. Let me show you their true nature.
So, Kena Bridge of Spirits is a lovely puzzle platformer game on the PlayStation 5, which is weirdly peppered with boss fights more difficult than anything I have ever encountered in Dark Souls. And the worst one of all is the very final boss fight. So big spoilers for the end of Kena, well, at least like the...
It's fine, no one's heard
thing.
of it.
Yeah, it's... yeah. Throughout the game, you're picking up these little creatures called the Rot, and they're really cute. If you've ever seen Doctor Who, they look like the little... When the end of the game, you go, oh, that's why they were called that. Basically, they help you solve puzzles so they can move things around for you. They help you in battle is the most important thing. So you can kind of command them to pin down an enemy, or you can use them to empower shots from your bow. They're used to kind of like cleanse the corruption that you find around this village and the surrounding areas that you've come as Kena to be the bridge for spirits to pass from this world into the next. And so the final boss fight is, of course, the big bad takes the Rot and turns them into an enemy that fights you, and you don't have the Rot until you kind of like whittle down its health. That's not the issue at hand, even though it is a little bit played out. It's kind of a bit tropey, but done before slightly. What is annoying is that, again, like my Final Fantasy choice, it is a multi-stage boss fight with 0 checkpoints, and you have to start from the beginning. You're fighting this huge beast. It's got like kind of pustules on it on various points, and you have to shoot them enough times and then damage enough of them that it then pulls you into a different part of the world where other enemies spawn, and you're just kind of fighting different waves of generic enemies. Clear them, door opens, go back, fight the Rot again, and then you go, okay, do a little bit more damage, and then you're cut back into it. And it's just that. One of the things though, when you do enough damage and it pulls you in again to the other world, is you suddenly have like a platforming bit as well. Fortunately.
Worse.
Well, the thing is, fortunately, I was on the first time I got to the platforming bit, I think it was, I fell off one of the platforms and I was like, don't take me down. It doesn't take you back to the start of the boss fight. That's the one time that they went, checkpoints might be good here, because it's a little bit trial and error the first time you get here. There was this one enemy that I had a lot of problem with in the game, and it's this big thing with a huge part of a tree trunk as a club. Throws it at you like a boomerang. It really hits, and it's got like glowy bits that you have to hit. One on the front and one's like on the elbow and one's on its back, which are really, really difficult to get to in this fight because they're just looking at you the whole time. So often I just get my health bar whittled down by this one thing that was a boss fight at one point, but now it's just a regular enemy. And then I get back to this huge monster and be like, 1 second, The other thing is, in healing, you need to use the Rot. So for the very first part of the battle, you cannot heal at all because you don't have the Rot. Second part of the battle, you can because you've claimed some Rot back, and then the third again. You cannot heal unless you've built up enough power to use a Rot point. So a bit like if anyone has played Ghost of Tsushima, you build up Resolve, you use Resolve to heal. It's the same thing in Kena. However, the additional thing is, in order to use that to heal, you need to find a blue flower around you, in which I think in the second round with the big monster, there's only like 2 of them. maybe 3, and the same again. So you are limited to 6 heals, which you have to earn. It's not none of your Estus. You don't get to just chug an Estus and save up. Nuh-uh. You have to bash this thing, try and get enough points, and then heal up. Finally, the very final, after you've done the platforming bit, the final fight, I was stuck on this for ages because it's just there and it brings waves and waves and waves of energy and then does this huge area of effect attack every once in a while. And I was like shooting attacks at this monster. I was like, I'm not doing anything. You couldn't do any damage to it whatsoever. And you're just being piled on by all these things. So I just kept getting to that point being like, oh, I'm so nearly there, but not knowing what the heck I'm supposed to do. It got to the point where I was just like, I've died too many times. What do I actually have to do damage? See, what I didn't realise is that I had to use the rot on spears in the creature's back to pull it out. So I had to aim my rot power like...
Sounds very complicated.
Yeah, at one of the... I think there's like 3 spikes in its back, and then you aim...
It's pretty good.
Yeah, the little rot symbol comes up, and it goes out, and then it pulls the thing out, and it does a whole load of damage. 3 of those, and then it dies, and then it's all right. It falls, and then you can cleanse it with the power of the rot. Multi-stage boss fight, no checkpoints, limited healing, final round. No clue what I was supposed to do. I had to Google it because it was just not obvious. However, it wasn't as hideously long as the Final Fantasy one, so I did actually manage to finish it.
10 out of 10.
So yeah, exactly.
Look on the bright side, Ellen. You can finally discuss the ending of Kena with all the other person who played it.
My favourite thing about it as well is I finished it, let the credits, but I was like did the thing, watched the end credit scene, everything, happy ending, yay, whatever. And then at the end, it goes back to the menu screen and it's like, you have unlocked master difficulty, at which point I was like, haha, no, and turned off my PlayStation 5.
Get
Because, yeah, exactly, just that, I'm not doing that. Sorry, Kena, you were fun, but no. Too hard.
Alright, spoilers in this bit for Elden Ring, if you haven't finished it, because I am going to talk about the final boss of Elden Ring. Alright, mic's off. So Elden Ring, obviously, is a game very heavily based around fighting bosses. That's the main thing you do in Elden Ring. And there are some really good bosses in Elden Ring. You've got Starship Radahn. You've got that fight where you fight yourself. That's pretty good. All those, like, beautiful, haunting, ethereal, skeletal deer. Who could forget? Melania. So yeah, you'd think by the time you get to the end of the game, the final boss must be the best one, right? And you get to the end of the game, you get to the Elden Throne, and it's like, now just go up these stairs where the final boss is hanging out. The velvet rope is there. You just thought they let you in, and they're like, in you come. All you need to do now is off with that. No stupid hats. Take that stone face off. They usher you in, and you're like, right, now the final boss is here, and you're like, great, okay, exciting. And out steps Radagon of the Golden Order, who is actually a really good boss. It's the guy who shattered the Elden Ring. He's wielding the hammer he used to do it. He's all shirtless and glorious.
In the first E3 trailer.
Yeah. The music is the music from the title screen. It's like this glorious orchestral swelling music from the title screen. You're like, oh, it's all come full circle. And you know, I wasn't entirely sure what was happening in the story of Elden Ring, if I'm honest. But I did know that Radagon of the Golden Order was an important character. And here I am fighting them. And I'm like, great. Fighting Radagon, the one who smashed the Elden Ring. Kill Radagon, I become the Elden Lord. Brilliant. So, you know, this epic fight with Radagon, and we're going back and forth, and it's a matching of wits. And finally, I defeat Radagon of the Golden Order, and I'm like, yes, I've beaten the final boss of Elden Ring. And then Elden Ring went, no, not okay. He's dead now. But look, what about this? Can I interest you in this? And then out comes what looks like an MRI of the Loch Ness Monster. And this huge, weird, like, flipper seal. And sort of just starts like wheeling around the level, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And they're like, yeah, the Elden Beast. Weren't expecting the Elden Beast, were you? And I'm like, no. Okay, no, I wasn't, because you've never mentioned that there is an Elden Beast, or even what it is.
That's mentioned in the item description of the trousers of American.
Probably is. That's probably where all the Elden Beast lore is contained. So you're in this huge arena. You're like ankle deep in water for some reason, and the Elden Beast is just, you know, half a mile away going woo, and you go, all right, let me just go over to the Elden Beast because I've got a sword. I want to go and hit him with the sword. And you spend sort of 20 minutes walking over there, and then the Elden Beast goes woo, and then teleports to the other side of the arena, and you're like, I just walked all the way over here, and it's like, and then it starts shooting like concentric circles of golden light at you that wreck you up, and you're like, no, all my health. Let me pound a couple of these flasks of crimson tears, so I'm better again. You're like, great, okay, now half a mile away that way. Then it like creates an orb that shoots lasers that's unavoidable and kills you instantly. And the worst thing is that if you die fighting the Elden Beast, and you probably will because it's a cheap MF that has BS tactics, you die, and then you're like, all right, fine, I'll go back and fight the Elden Beast again. And then out steps Radagon, and it's like, oh, come to tangle with Radagon, hast ye? I'm like, I already beat Radagon. And then I fought the Elden Beast. It's like, no, it's a 2-stage boss fight, and you have to do it again every single time you come through here. And so you die again and again on Elden Beast, and the great epic Radagon boss fight that feels like important and like it has relevance to the story, by the end of it you're like, yeah, Radagon, just get out of the way, Radagon, I can't lose any health to you because I need all of this for the Elden Beast, whatever that is. And so Radagon is like, I hath destroyed the, and you're like, I don't care, I need all this health, get out of the way, Radagon. So it completely undermines the Radagon fight, and then you get onto the absolute BS fight with the stupid flailing flipper monster.
Have you considered that the Elden Beast is good?
No! I haven't, because it isn't. Why do you love the Elden Beast?
It's slow and majestic, it's cool, it's a cool fight. It does that huge sword attack.
Oh yeah, it's got a sword. Did I mention, for one of its flippers, it's just got a big sword for some reason.
It without an opposable thumb.
It's got a hand. But yeah, it's really stupid, and like in the end, the only way I could beat it was so when you start the Elden Beast boss fight, there's like 4 seconds where it stands still, and you can run around the back of it and stab it in the butt. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like this should be the climax of my Elden Ring journey, you know? It's like, oh, brave Radagon, you have laid down your life, for now I am the Elden Lord. And it's like, no, actually, it's me just like frantically shanking the Loch Ness Monster in the butt and hoping it dies before it can do anything to me.
That's the most authentic Elden Ring experience possible. It should end as it began, with you hiding behind an enemy, stabbing it hard.
Stabbing it hard in the butt, doing Hoarfrost Stomp over and over again.
I dismissed my summon so that I could make the Elden Beast fight last longer. I was having a good time.
I don't know what is wrong with you. Elden Beast is the worst boss in the whole game. Well, I am wearing a Loch Ness Monster t-shirt.
There it is, the Elden Beast.
There he is. Yeah.
He loves it, really.
I think it's sullying the legacy of the Loch Ness Monster. You know, that's a monster who worked hard to establish their legacy, didn't just turn up at the end of Scotland and say, oh, no one's mentioned me, but I'm in charge.
You've defeated the final boss of Scotland.
Billy Connolly.
Billy Connolly, and then who's this? The Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a bullshit boss, and it basically ruined Elden Ring. So.
You were never one of us. You were nothing but a usurper, a false idol. My eyes have been opened.
I don't know how plugged in you are to the Doom fan community.
Not at all.
How plugged in are you to the Doom fan community? All right. Well. Let me tell you that there are some people who will be part of the Doom fan community, and they've already seen that I'm going to talk about the Marauder, and let me tell you, it's contentious. If you do a little bit of reading around, you can find that this enemy splits the Doom fan base right down the middle between.
Literally, the chainsaw.
Yeah, with it. Well, I mean, where do I begin? With a kind of wave attack that sort of happens in one frame. It can smash you with its axe if you get too close. It can also summon a deadly ghost dog, and the deadly ghost dog bites you, and the bite marks appear on the screen. Yeah, like, exactly. I suppose you're supposed to imagine your eyeballs have been bitten off or something. Yeah. This is the thing. All right, context. The Marauder is, like all Doom enemies, a horrible demon, but you encounter the Marauder halfway through the campaign for the first time. That's where you sort of do this boss encounter. And the Marauder is very different from most Doom enemies because you can only beat it a very specific way. If you're too far from it, it will attack you invulnerably. If you're too close to it, it will attack you invulnerably. You have to be in the middle of close and far. And when you are, sometimes it will do a thing where it attacks you and briefly its eyes flash green. And if you shoot it while its eyes flash green, it will be briefly staggered. And then you can do some damage to it if you're quick. It's a very hard enemy to fight, but my complaint isn't that it was hard. No one should have to prove that or validate that, but I would hope that I have, over the last few years, earned my chops in putting up with games that are basically so hard that they're unplayably unfair.
I don't know, I heard you had a hard time with Maz Kosher.
Oh man, oh no. That got out. And if you do some reading around this, like, people are like, oh man, I hate the Marauder, I didn't really like it. A lot of the responses are like, the Marauder can be easily dealt with if you do quick weapon switching and doing this. And it's like, yeah, I did beat the Marauder. After you fight the Marauder, the game continues and the Marauder becomes like a regular enemy, but every time the Marauder would appear as a regular enemy, my heart would just sink and I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do this. And the reason is because it's completely different to every other type of enemy in Doom Eternal. Obviously what they were trying to do is to mix up the combat and give you a new challenge when the Marauder appears, but up until that point, Doom Eternal was like so chill. Like, it's so, like there's...
the word I would have used.
I know.
Chill series.
No, like, it totally is. Like if you're having a hard time in Doom Eternal, the solution is almost always to just be like, okay, what do I need? It's all about resource management, Doom Eternal. It's like you've got to keep your health up and your shield up and your ammo up. And to get your ammo up, you have to use your chainsaw. And to get your shield up, you have to use your flamethrower. And to get your health up, you have to do glory kills or a blood punch. And there's a lot to know. And but it starts to like gel into this really pleasant kind of web in your mind. And you're like, there's the robot-y spider. I know what he needs. He needs the sniper rifle to shoot off his little nubbin. And there's the Caco Demon. The Caco Demon just needs a little grenade in his little mouth. And it's almost like a kind of Bob Ross painting. Like, I think the way that Doom Eternal... The game is at its best when you just can be completely calm and you just move around like a sort of tornado of death. Just like...
A calm tornado.
A calm tornado of death.
Like
just
a ballet.
Like a ballet, just efficiently dispatching
Ballets you're going to.
This is why Doom is so enjoyable. It's not like one of these kind of like sweaty, like kind of wrestling with the controllers, like trying to stay alive. It's like you just slow down the old heart rate and you just move in a kind of zen-like way. But the Marauder completely changes that because the dynamic of fighting it is much more claustrophobic and it completely breaks the flow of the game, having this enemy that has to be killed with timing rather than with resource management, if that makes sense. And every time you encounter Marauder after that, again, the flow of the game completely breaks. Some people really like that, and they're like, oh good, they mixed up the challenge and it gets a bit spicy and it gets a bit interesting and I have to master a new skill. I personally felt that it kind of dismantled everything that was making Doom Eternal fun up to that point, and I didn't really get on board with it. And yeah, the Marauder, with his ghost dogs and his bad vibes. He harshed my mellow. I was having a mellow time and the Marauder harshed it.
Unforgivable.
So those are some of the bosses that we just found really annoying. Just love them. We wish we could change them or remove them completely and make the game a lot better. better. Do you have any that you really just cannot stand? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed it, please do give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, because we do loads more videos like this. And if you would like to support us on Patreon, please do click the linky link. And also over here are some videos of more things like this. In the meantime, we promise we won't make you do a big boss battle to go and watch them. You can just go and watch them now.